There's been a lot of reports surrounding Dave Gettleman and the critical issues that he's made since being hired in December of 2017. Now, when he first came in, first week, he cuts Bobby Hart. I'm like, yes, I love this. But former Carolina Panthers warned us about Dave Gettleman and the type of general manager that he was. All right. First issue that Dave Gettleman had, and it was reported that Dave Gettleman overestimated the value of the team's talent in 2018, which I think is factually true. He overestimated the talent that the Giants currently had on their roster. They had a lot of bad players. So what do? They go out and they give Nate Solder the bag, 4 years, $62 million, and they give Jonathan Stewart a wealthy contract. This is before drafting Saquon Barkley. So you already have Jonathan Stewart on your roster, and the people who are arguing against Saquon Barkley still do, to this day, have a valid argument. Now, I'm not going to say whether I agree or disagree with that, because at the time I liked the Barkley pick, but they're not wrong to say you could have went with Jonathan Stewart and focused on your offensive line. Right, okay. The Giants tried to compete to win and rebuild at the same time. That never works. The Giants went, what was it? 5-11 that year for a reason. 3-13. I forget what it was. It was
5-11
like that.
It was 5-11.
It was 5-11. All right. So the Giants got a new toy. I forget. 2019. Apparently, this guy who wrote this article on Dave Gettleman said that Pat Shurmur, who was the head coach at the time, told Dave Gettleman, I really want DeAndre Baker. We'll clean this kid up and he'll be fine. Dave Gettleman was, no. I don't want DeAndre Baker. He caved in. And he selects DeAndre Baker 30th overall. Personnel is making draft decisions for Dave Gettleman, and he's just signing off the paper check. It was the same exact thing in 2020. Apparently, according to this article, again, I don't know how true this is, Jason Garrett wanted to draft Andrew Thomas. He liked Andrew Thomas, and Dave Gettleman wanted him 4th overall. It was Andrew Thomas, and it was nobody else, and you couldn't convince him otherwise. And do you ever watch these Dave Gettleman press conferences, and he kind of belittles reporters and says, well, you know, like Dave Gettleman seems like he has everything under control. He knows what he's talking about. And look, I've been pro Gettleman for a while, but I've lost it. I've lost it at this point with this man. Nice guy, but oh my God, there's some serious front office issues with this team. We're talking about, and it goes above Dave Gettleman. John Mara is a big yes man. Yeah, and it's funny. Chris Mara, this Giants organization is so trash because it's all family oriented and based off familiarity. Chris Mara is the senior vice president of personnel, whatever he is. And then the two people below Chris Mara helping Dave Gettleman make decisions is this one guy who was a yes man to Dave Gettleman in Carolina, who joined the Giants front office. And the other is John Mara's nephew, Tim McDonald.
Jesus.
So here you go. The Giants aren't hiring from outside. Everything is in-house. Everything is in-house and based off familiarity. Do what Wellington Mara did. Take a chance on George Young. Look how that went. It went brilliantly. And you know what? John Mara needs to take a page out of his father's playbook. I like John Mara. I want him to succeed. But Dave Gettleman is just a big part of the issue. He is not the full root of the issue. It stems above the Giants. When Dave Gettleman retires at the end of the season and walks out with his Giants pride, we can't all just throw out colors and rainbows. That's not going to be the case.
By the way, Tom, I do have to kind of make one point regarding what you said about George Young. That, you know why George Young got hired, right? You know the story about that, right?
Kind of. I don't want to get too into it, but
that wasn't necessarily that had more to do with Pete Rozelle trying to settle a dispute between Wellington and his nephew, who at the time was the other majority owner of the Giants.
Yes.
But either way, you're right. That the fact that he was the only outside the organization hire that the Giants have made since since the merger tells you really all you need to know about how they operate.
And nothing is going to change.
And that's why I'm going to feel nothing if Dave Gettleman leaves, even though I should be ecstatic about him being gone. Tom, you and I both know how this franchise operates. I can't, until I actually see some semblance of them doing the right thing by taking an offensive lineman in the first round of the draft or fixing the edge rushers, it's going to be hard to get me to feel any sense of hope regarding Big Blue. I'm sorry to say.
But hold on, my rant's not over.
Oh, go for it.
Gettleman promised to fix the offensive line. Never happened. He went out and he signed Nate Solder. He drafted Will Hernandez. We went out and we drafted Saquon Barkley and Will Hernandez. Look how that's turned out for us. Instead of potentially going for other guys like Quentin Nelson, who would have been a great pick at that point. And then the Giants, everyone's like, oh, Will Hernandez, he's a first-round steal. Absolutely not. Anyway, the Giants went into free agency and tried to fix their roster. Okay. 2020, Gettleman had a pretty good offseason. He signed players that made sense. He didn't spend the bag. Good intermediate contracts with Blake Martinez and James Bradbury. I thought those two contracts were good contracts, right? They went out, they got Kyler Fackrell. I mean, these moves, they all made sense, right? He did the exact opposite in 2021. In 2020, he signed guys who didn't have an injury history. In 2021, he did. He went against what he promised to do. The Kyle Rudolph contract. I'm a big Notre Dame fan. I love Kyle Rudolph. I love Kyle Rudolph as a person because he's a Notre Dame Fighting Irish player. But man, was that contract bad. Did we really need to spend that money on Kyle Rudolph? No. Backloading a bunch of contracts. He backloaded Leonard Williams. Probably not the best idea with the money the Giants had. They really could have kept Kevin Zeitler, couldn't they have now, thinking about it? They really could have pushed a little bit harder to get an offensive lineman in the draft. But no, they didn't, and they were trying to find scraps on the waiver wire at the end of the offseason. 14 of our current 53 active players on our roster tonight were draft picks. 14 of our 53, ladies and gentlemen, were draft picks. 7 of our drafted players are on IR. So if you include everybody else on the team, we only have 21 players on our roster who were drafted. 21. Also, the Giants currently have 20 players on IR. That is a lot. So you're going to get a lot of players who are in draft picks. But still, it's really sad. It's really, really, really sad. The reason why I was optimistic about Dave Gettleman, he had a pretty darn good 2020 offseason. He did. I thought his 2020 draft was good. He found Tay Crowder. He made Nick Gates this full-time starting center. He helped, I thought he made a good head coaching hire in Joe Judge. I still think Joe Judge is a good head coaching hire, regardless of what people say about him. He's not, he's not perfect. We'll get to that. But look, he completely reversed what he did in the 2021 offseason. I shook my head when the Giants signed Kenny Golladay because I knew they didn't have enough beef up front to get him the football. And I know the comment section is absolutely blowing up right now, but Sam S. is John Mara's nephew even qualified for his job? I'm not sure. I don't know much about Tim McDonald, Sam. I'd be lying if I said I did. I'm not going to say yes or no to that, but with the way things are looking right now, this seems more like a little bit of a favoritism hire. So I don't know. That's a really good question. It may have taken 15 weeks, but Tom, you finally got mad about the Giants. Well, yeah, because I was expecting a 10-7 season, and now my best hope is 7-10. My best hope is 7-10. So obviously I'm disappointed. Kyle, it's been more like 3+ years because this sounds like you a long time ago. I think I just have a little bit more patience. I like to build things, right? I like to build things to get long-term success. and we're not seeing that right now. I'm willing to be patient for a couple of years if it means we're going to be good for potentially 10 years, right? Does that make sense, Hank?
Yeah, no, I totally get it. And Tom, better you than me. You've been more like patient and more level-headed than I am. I'm dead serious. And
look,
for you to go out and rant like that, like I'm with Kyle and James here. Like that says something. And listen, I've probably had my moments where I exploded over the past few years, but that's because like after a certain amount of time, the incompetence of this organization and the losing, it gets frustrating, doesn't it?
This is the thing with me. It takes a lot for me to have a boiling point with the Giants because I am accustomed to them being a winning football culture, and they have completely reversed themselves. I hit the restart button once they hired Pat Shurmur. I did it again when they hired Joe Judge. I did it when they hired Dave Gettleman. I lost it with Pat Shurmur, and now I've lost it with Dave Gettleman. It's been 4 years. Time is up, buddy. Goodbye. Thank you. Next, on that note, that was my rant on Dave Gettleman. Appreciate everybody for watching that. You probably won't see another rant like that for like another 3 to 4 years. But again, a lot of these rumors might be true. Apparently, and apparently 2 scouts got fired and let go by the Giants after they flew in to the 2021 draft. I'm not so sure what happened, but the Giants waited to fire those scouts until they arrived. So I thought that was really odd as well. That was one last thing I wanted to point out about that article. Again, this is all tongue-in-cheek right now, but I don't think this would be written up if it wasn't true. This guy seems pretty credible according to social media. And it takes a lot for me to be convinced by social media, just so you know. I like to do my stat digging before coming out and saying something. But on that note, we're going to transition into our next segment in featuring the Philadelphia Eagles. Folks, I've really been looking forward to this football game over the past several weeks now because I am so excited to hopefully sweep the Philadelphia Eagles this season. And let's take a trip down the New Jersey Turnpike.
You love doing that to me. I know. You just love playing that.
They are playing in Philadelphia.
I know.
They only do it once a year. So,
yep.
But anyway, all right. By the way, that video is going to continue to be played until the Giants finally win a game in Philadelphia. So you better hope they win on Sunday. All right. So our 4-10 Giants are taking on the 7-7 Philadelphia Eagles, a team that just played 2 nights ago. They beat the Washington football team by a final score of 27-17. The Eagles currently lead the all-time series against the Giants 88-87-2, but the Giants have won 2 straight. So there is a chance to even up the all-time series this weekend, Hank, and I'm very excited to have the opportunity to do that.
I know, and it's been a long time since we've swept the Eagles. I would say probably since 2007. And you want to know another crazy fact? Last time we won in Philadelphia, Tom, I believe you would have been a freshman in college, and I know I was a junior at Greeley. So I think we're long overdue for a win.
I hate you so much for bringing that up. That gives away my age. The Giants haven't won in Philly since I was a freshman in college.
I would say we're long overdue for a win in that horrible city.
That was my first semester of college, too. Oh, my God. Really?
Yep.
Oh, my God.
You know how good I am with dates, Tom.
Yeah. Look, we're long overdue. The Eagles are only 2-4 at home this season, but the Giants are 1-6 on the road. And before we briefly recap the last meeting back in Week 12, Kevin Mondello has a comment. I agree. Great points you brought up. Us Giants fans deserve better. Thank you. Yeah.
Kevin, you're damn right.
Folks,
you're damn right, Kevin.
Remember to share this podcast, like this video, subscribe to us on YouTube, tell your friends, tell maybe a few more friends. Join in on this fun and this Giants rant here tonight, this Christmas-themed show. Happy holidays, everybody. It is Festivus. Giants, Eagles. So, Hank, last time out, Giants won at MetLife Stadium 13-7. Back in Week 12. The Giants will not win this weekend scoring 13 points. I'll guarantee you that. I will guarantee you that.
Well, let me put it this way. We're lucky the Eagles didn't have a better quarterback because Jalen Hurts has been kind of an up and down quarterback. Obviously, he's a guy that if you can make him throw the ball like last game, then you have a good chance of winning.
Yeah,
because that's exactly how the Giants were able to win. The guy on their team that scares me the most, and even though he's not like a star running back, it's Boston Scott. He on 15 rushes, he had 64 yards and a touchdown. Miles Sanders is another guy you got to watch out for. And if there's one thing the Giants have had trouble with defensively, it's stopping the run. So I would say if you can contain Boston Scott and if you can make Jalen Hurts throw the ball, then I think you're in fine shape. Because remember, this is the same team that forced 4 turnovers against the Eagles. But with that being said, it really shouldn't have been that close of a game. The Eagles should not have had one more chance to win it at the end. But that's an indictment not just on our own team, but that's really an indictment on them too. And that's really it's another thing that proves my point that the Eagles, despite the fact that they're competing for a playoff spot, that's a flawed team. I'm sorry. That's not me saying that because it's my least favorite team in the NFL. This is a fact.
Well, it is a fact. The Giants have a chance to play spoiler this weekend, although the Giants technically are not eliminated from playoff contention yet.
You're saying there's a chance?
Yes, it would take either a if the Giants lose, they're out. But if Minnesota and New Orleans both win, the Giants are out. That's the way it stands. So, yeah, last time out, they couldn't stop Scott. They couldn't stop Sanders. But Kenneth Gainwell was their leading receiver. The secondary did pretty well. Devonta Smith had just 2 catches. Yes, Jalen Reagor did help the Giants out late. And Kyle Russo says, Hank, these aren't fun facts. These are terrible truths.
Kyle, bro, that's a low blow, man.
Now he will look like an all-star this weekend. Well, look, I think Hurts sucks.
Jeez,
I really do. Everyone's like, he had a good game against Washington. Oh, the worst secondary in the NFL this season? Chase Young, out for the year. Jonathan Allen, been out for a while. Come on. Come on, fans. Like, read between the lines a little bit. Now, here's the question. Jake Fromm. We don't even know who's starting at quarterback. Joe Judge is keeping it a secret, and I love that he's keeping it a secret so that the Eagles have to game plan for both Jake Fromm and Mike Glennon. This works to our advantage perfectly. It works to our advantage beautifully, and I love it. Giants fans might not like it, but I like not knowing who the starter is at this point in the season. It's not like the Giants are going to the playoffs, so Joe Judge might as well keep it a secret to Philadelphia and try to screw them over a little bit. So I think it's a smart decision. It's the least the Giants could do to repay the favor that the Eagles did to us last season. Well, the Giants did that to themselves, but the Eagles just added the icing on the cake.
Yeah, exactly. Retribution.
But Hank, for those of people who don't know, who is Jake Fromm?
So, as I talked about in a previous video, which you can check out on the Big Blue Avenue YouTube channel, Jake Fromm was a quarterback for the Georgia Bulldogs. And actually, he had a pretty successful career with them, too. He led them to the national title game against the Alabama Crimson Tide when he was a true freshman. He started 42 games for them. And as we know, he is very familiar with Andrew Thomas. He has been protecting from his blind side for all the years that he was a starting quarterback. And I thought he was a decent quarterback when he was with Georgia. And from looking at all the stats about him, I thought his numbers were okay, but they weren't overly impressive. And I think because he doesn't necessarily have a strong arm, I think that's probably why he fell so far in the draft. And I think that's why a lot of people, such as Noah Dibler, shout out Noah if you're watching this, he's a hardcore Georgia Bulldogs fan. A lot of people like him probably thought he should have stayed on for his senior year. But in any event, he was drafted by the Buffalo Bills in the 5th round. He didn't even get a chance to suit up for a game because I believe he was their 3rd string quarterback, and he was so far off the depth chart that he didn't even get to suit up for a game until the Giants game in Miami. So now potentially, it really just goes to show you the NFL, anything can happen. Now he has a chance to get his first ever NFL start. And it's a pretty big game in the sense that it could be a chance to spoil the playoff hopes from one of your most hated rivals. So that's definitely very interesting. It should also be worth noting that he was teammates with Tay Crowder and Azeez Ojulari, and he's going up against those guys in practice. So it'll be very interesting to see what he does in his first ever NFL start. And I think I know one reason you probably want the Giants to win is for them to help out another team that I know you have a soft spot for, the Minnesota Vikings. And yeah, there's that I'm sure that's a win for you on multiple levels, is it not?
Yeah, I'd like to see the Vikings make the playoffs. They currently hold a 7 seed, and the Giants beating Philly would definitely help them out. And the Vikings playing at home against the Rams, Matthew Stafford is really bad playing in Minnesota historically. So I think that's a game that the Vikings are going to actually steal from the Rams. So I think that would put them a game ahead in the stand. Yeah, I think the Vikings are winning on Sunday.
Jeez.
Rams are coming off high. I mean, not too high. They barely scooted by Seattle. So, yeah, I'm picking the Vikings to beat the Rams this weekend.
It should be noted that they barely scooted by Seattle with like half the team on COVID. And it should also be noted that Matthew Stafford has a better team around him now than he did with Detroit against Minnesota.
Also factual, but I just think the Vikings are and I know I get it. Dalvin Cook is out, but let's get back to the Giants. All right, so the Giants restructure the contracts of tight end Kyle Rudolph and punter Riley Dixon this week. Creates $350,000 in cap space the rest of the season. I have seen too many Giants fans on Twitter saying the Giants should cut Riley Dixon at the end of this season. While I think it might be a good idea to cut Rudolph, I do not think it is a good idea to cut Riley Dixon. Do we ever hear the name Riley Dixon besides when he comes out to punt? No. Why? Do we ever have issues with the snap on field goals? No. Why? Fix what's not broke. Yeah, he's paid a little bit too much money. Is that Riley Dixon's fault? No. It's Dave Gettleman's fault. So, with that being said, I would like to keep Riley Dixon in the offseason. Give him an extension. He's only due money until the end of 2022 anyway, so you could extend him to even out that money a little bit. I'm sure he would take a pay cut if there's a new GM in town saying, look, work with Joe for 1 year. Then if it doesn't work out, then you can hire your own guy, and then you can make the moves that you want. I think Riley Dixon should sign up for that, and I think the Giants should sign up for Riley Dixon again. I think he's very important. He also had a successful onside kick a week or two ago. That also goes unnoticed. He does a lot of little things on special teams that I think Joe Judge admires, and he's never said a bad thing about Riley Dixon. So for those of you saying the Giants should cut Riley Dixon, I think you should shut up.
Well, to be fair,
that might sound harsh, but I think it's true.
Well, listen, looking beyond your love for Riley Dixon, I don't necessarily disagree with that. I think a punter does little things that like the average fan doesn't really see. So yeah, I'm definitely on board with keeping him another year.
And here's why I'm not showing favoritism. I love Kyle Rudolph as well, but I think we should cut him. He went to Notre Dame. I think we should cut him. Look, it was the same thing last year with Golden Tate. He went to Notre Dame and we cut him.
Yeah, no, that's very fair.
Other news in Giants world, they signed cornerback Darqueze Dennard to the practice squad along with Dwayne Johnson, not The Rock, just for those of you who are wondering. I wish. Dennard, a former first-round pick in 2014 by the Bengals. Oof, the Giants love picking up former first-round picks that don't pan out. Gotta love it. John Ross, Billy Price, and Darqueze Dennard. The Giants now own 3 former Bengals first-round picks on their roster.
Sounds like they love Band-Aids like another team that you root for.
Stop it.
Oh, okay.
Denard played 6 seasons for the Bengals. He is 30 years of age. Started 6 games for the Atlanta Falcons last year in his 7th NFL season. Other news for the Giants, wide receiver Kadarius Toney removed off the COVID list. That is good news. He has a shot to play on Sunday. However, still on the COVID list is John Ross, O'Shane Ximines, Cam Brown, Aaron Robinson, and Keon Rawson. So the secondary is depleted yet again. Part of the reason why the Giants signed Denard. Other news, Ryan Kerrigan missed practice for the Eagles today. He is in COVID-19 protocol. And more importantly, head coach Nick Sirianni also enters COVID-19 protocol. He tested positive for the virus and likely will not be on the sidelines coaching Philadelphia this Sunday. Huge blow for them. Also, New Jersey native Kevin Patullo likely to replace him. He is the Eagles' passing game coordinator.
Yep. It'll be interesting to see how the Eagles do without their head man on the sidelines. And let's talk about some keys to this game, shall we?
Yeah, let's go over some keys to the game. Hank, why don't you start us off here?
Well, I'm not going to go with the one that you think I usually will say. Instead, I'm just going to say stop the run. Because, as I said earlier, I think the possible difference between a win and a loss and what could have been a disaster the last time we played them was their inability to stop the run. The Eagles averaged 214 rushing yards per game since week 8. That's the most in the NFL. They had 208 rushing yards back in week 12. And again, that almost cost the Giants. Lane Johnson and Jordan Mailata, they have been ranked pretty well in PFF. Jason Kelsey also has been another good offensive lineman for them. Jalen Smith played last week against the Cowboys, made a tackle on his first snap. Is he going to be more involved this week? We shall see, but I really think stopping the run is going to be absolutely vital if you're going to beat the Eagles. Basically, in other words, I'm going to say this once again, make Hurts throw the ball.
Yeah. I also think it's important that Jalen Smith gets more reps because that adds another run-stopping linebacker. Tate Crowder is more of a pass coverage linebacker. I think Jalen Smith brings more of a run-stopping game and should be inserted above Reggie Ragland in the starting lineup if he knows the playbook well enough at this point, because last week against Dallas, he made a tackle on his first snap of the game. So will he be more involved? That's going to be interesting. I think the key for me is winning the turnover battle, right? Last time out, Giants had no turnovers. The Eagles had 4, and we barely skated by, winning 13-7. That's not going to happen again. The Eagles will not be turning the ball over 4 times in this game. They've watched enough tape from Week 12 to fix it. Jalen Hurts made his first start on Tuesday night since the Week 12 game against us. So, being that the Eagles played on Tuesday night, I think the Giants need to take advantage of the short week. The Eagles are having some COVID issues with their head coach. And yeah, I mean, it's really crazy because all signs are pointing that this is working out in the Giants' favor, but we have an incompetent interim offensive coordinator in Freddie Kitchens since taking over for Jason Garrett. Instead of averaging 16 points a game, Freddie Kitchens is averaging under 11 points per game since taking over. And it's been 4 weeks. So it's time to start criticizing Freddie Kitchens because the offense hasn't been there either. And honestly, this is going to sound crazy coming out of my mouth, but Jason Garrett is probably clapping at home right now.
Oh, gosh. I'm really not sure. Say that again?
Don't you love working with me?
I do. It's always been a pleasure. I would say it's probably either – I'm really not sure whether it's either the offensive coordinators or whether it's the system as a whole. But
yeah,
at the end of the day, when I talked about Jason Garrett's firing, I never once said that Freddie Kitchens was going to be the permanent offensive coordinator.
No,
I think we knew at best. I think we knew at best it was an interim basis, and we knew we know they're going to get a new offensive coordinator anyway, so I wouldn't really worry about him. So as far as my last key to the game, what do you think I'm going to say? Get off the field on third down, and let me explain why this is a big deal this week. The Dallas Cowboys went 57% on third down conversions. If that happens against the Philadelphia Eagles, more often than not, more than likely, that's probably not going to be a win.
And our secondary is looking very similar to last week. I don't think that the Giants will not be getting Adoree Jackson back yet. Aaron Robinson is still in the COVID protocol, so I don't know who's going to start opposite James Bradberry, if it's going to be Jaron Williams again, who granted wasn't bad. I'll be the first to admit. But, Hank, let's get into some players to watch. We'll do 3 for Philly and then 3 for the Giants. So why don't you do your first player for Philly, and then I'll do mine, and then we'll do it that way. We'll start with Philadelphia.
I'm going to go with Devonta Smith first because, again, the Giants secondary, as we said, they are COVID/injury depleted. He's shown some flashes of greatness this season. Again, I don't know if he's going to be the star that the Eagles think, but he definitely has a lot of great athletic ability, and I think he's definitely going to be someone that the Giants will have to watch out for. And I think the big question is, can Bradberry Bunker return to form and stop him?
Yeah, that's definitely a good player to watch because last time Bradberry did pretty good against him.
Yep.
One player to watch for me is Boston Scott. He is, quote unquote, a giant nightmare. On the year, his stats aren't great, but he did tear us up last time out. Scott has 4 touchdowns on the season. I'm pretty sure career-wise he has like 11, 12 touchdowns against us at this point. So
sounds about right.
I'm very concerned about him, especially because Miles Sanders missed his 2nd straight practice today. So that means probably more of Boston Scott on Sunday, which is never a good thing for the Giants.
No. Speaking of never a good thing for the Giants, Dallas Goddard. He had 7 catches for 135 yards.
Okay.
And he, on the season, has 48 catches for 731 yards and 4 touchdowns. He had an 88.3 PFF grade and 90.4 receiving. It's a contract year. He signed a 4-year extension for the Eagles, and he's been a pretty productive tight end for them, all things considered. But why did I say Dallas Goddard? What do the Giants have trouble doing? Covering tight ends.
Yeah. Also, Goddard had a career game the other night. He went off. He went off. And this guy's in a contract year. They gave him a 4-year contract extension the week of the first Giants-Eagles game this season. So he's locked in for Philly. This was shortly after they traded away Zach Ertz. So I don't think the Giants are going to be able to cover him. That's a good one. For me, Fletcher Cox is always a player you want to watch. I think he give the Giants fits and force whoever plays quarterback to throw the ball often. Giants only had 70 rushing yards against Philadelphia back in Week 12. On the season, Fletcher Cox has 11 quarterback hits, 3 sacks, and he is pretty good up the middle. He has been a force for a long time for these Philadelphia Eagles. He got rest today at practice, yesterday at practice, that was, but I'm sure he'll be good to go come Sunday. Hank?
Yeah, and I think the last guy that I'm going to mention, I would say Darius Slay, Pro Bowler, did a good job covering Golladay last time. It'll be interesting to see if he blankets Golladay again like last time. And his PFF grade, 81.6, 48 tackles, 4 of them for a loss, 3 picks. This is a guy that I would imagine whoever throws for the Giants will probably want to be careful of. So that's my other player to watch.
That's a good one. And the last one for me, I mean, we haven't talked about him yet, so I'm going to bring him up now, is Jalen Hurts. Very explosive talent. That is tough to bring down. Can the Giants seal the edge and keep his rushing numbers down? I'm more concerned about his rushing numbers than his passing numbers. He had 77 on the ground against the Giants last time. I think Hurts may struggle through the air again, depending on who's available in the Giants secondary. Can he take advantage of an ailing Giants secondary at the moment, which is currently the strength of our defense? He's only thrown 14 touchdowns this year to 9 interceptions. 3 of those came against us back in week 12. So hopefully the Giants can get to him. And then honorable mention, of course, Javon Hargrave, 7.5 sacks on the season. So look out for him as well. Hank, take any player off the Eagles and put him on the Giants. Steal one. Who is it?
Oh, gosh, this is a tough one. I'm going to say Javon Hargrave because just for the sheer fact that we need another edge rusher. 7.5 sacks, that's production that, like, I wish we had more of on the Giants besides just Azeez Ojulari.
Yeah. I'm with you. I like him a lot. Just to be a little different, I'm going to go with what's his name? TJ Edwards, the linebacker, inside linebacker. I think he's a good young linebacker that the Giants can use. We don't have any of those really, so we could always use good pass coverage linebackers as well. So I think he'd be a good one to get. But I do like the Javon Hargrave pick a lot. If you didn't pick him, I probably would have. But yeah, I'll steal TJ Edwards from the Philadelphia Eagles.
I like that choice too. Nothing wrong with that one.
Moving on.
Yes, moving on.
Do you have anything else there?
No. I was ready to move on too.
All right. Since the Giants stink, just kidding. We're still going to do 3 each for the Giants, but we'll start with you here. Who is the first player you're looking at?
X going to give it to you. Been our best member of the secondary this year. Picked off Jalen Hurts. Why not?
Okay, that's a good one. I'm going Azeez Ojulari. 8 sacks as a rookie, 11 quarterback hits, and a forced fumble. I really like him off the edge, and if the Giants are going to win this football game, they have to contain the edge so that Jalen Hurts does not scamper for, a bunch of yardage down the field. So I'm going Azeez Ojulari as my first Giants player to watch.
Also an excellent choice. Next player, I'm going to say Kenny Golladay was targeted 7 times last week, he was targeted 7 times in the last Eagle game. But he only finished with 3 catches, 50 yards. Hopefully he'll get more targets and he'll be more productive. Maybe there's a chance that he'll have his better game with Jake Fromm under center. I don't really know. I can't be too sure with this team anymore, but I feel like I name this guy every week and he never produces. So what do I know?
Yeah, that's a good one. I'm going Leonard. Big Cat is my second. Yep. Played through a serious elbow injury last week. Love him for it. He really doesn't have to still be on the field this season, but he is because he loves starting football games and he loves playing for head coach Joe Judge. 11 QB hits, 5.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles on the season. He is the 16th ranked interior defensive lineman and leads all interior defensive linemen in the NFL in tackles. And I think if you're going to stop that Eagles run game, he plays a big role in that, along with guys like Dexter Lawrence and Austin Johnson.
Yes, definitely. That's another great one. And I think last but not least, even though he's not even the leading rusher on our team, unfortunately, I have to say Saquon.
Yeah.
If the Giants are going to win this game, I think him being the focal point on this offense is definitely something that's important. And you know what the crazy thing is? Behind a certain tight end who is much maligned, he has the second most receptions on this team. What does that tell you about our offense? So I think maybe Saquon maybe he has a redemption game, but I don't know. I think that's probably a pipe dream, if anything. We'll see. Knock on wood.
Hank, you're going to hate my third and final player to watch. I didn't even put him on the script, so you're not going to know who this is. Billy Price.
Oh, wow.
Right. And here's why. Billy Price, do I think he's coming back next year? Probably not, but he's been improving throughout the course of the season. His hands are going to be full on Sunday against guys like Javon Hargrave and Fletcher Cox. That is where the Eagles' strength is on their defensive line. They aren't great off the edge. They're without Brandon Graham, so I'm not really worried there. Matt Skura and Will Hernandez scare me a lot more on the interior than Billy Price at this point. I think Will Hernandez doesn't even know when stunts are coming, so that's a big problem. Matt Skura is a converted center playing left guard, so Billy Price for me is the guy that's going to have to anchor the ship in the middle of that defensive line, especially with the revolving door at right tackle as well. So outside of Andrew Thomas, you could argue that Billy Price has been our second best lineman this season. And it's crazy because at one point we hated Billy Price and said he was the worst player on this roster. That is not the case anymore. Billy Price is one of my players to watch.
I like that. That's very, very outside the box. Somebody who's improved. I think maybe strong play from the offensive line can definitely help. But again, we'll see. It's hard for me to say I'm optimistic. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Giants injury report. Gary Brightwell did not practice today with a neck injury. Big blow to the special teams unit. I don't know if he's going to play. Ben Bredesen also did not practice with an ankle injury. He has to get at least a limited session in tomorrow in order to play on Sunday. Leonard Williams, Andrew Thomas, Kyle Rudolph, Austin Johnson, Colin Gillespie, and Saquon Barkley were all limited. Hank, why don't you roll us through the Eagles injury report?
All righty. And so for the Eagles, Jordan Mailata with an ankle injury did not play. Miles Sanders had a quad injury. He had 18 rushes for 131 yards, 7.3 yards per carry against Washington. However, he also did not practice due to a quad. Ryan Kerrigan, due to an illness, also did not practice. He was placed on the COVID-19 list. The fourth Eagle since Sunday. More than likely, he will not be playing. As for limited practices, Jack Stoll, Jordan Howard, and Jalen Hurts. And Jason Kelsey, Lane Johnson, and Fletcher Cox also did not practice. However, that was more because they were veterans and they wanted to give them some rest. So there you have it for the Philadelphia Eagles injury report.
And one interesting point of note, Jordan Mailata is the starting left tackle for Philadelphia. If he can't go, that's a huge issue going up against guys like Ojulari and Roche off the edge at that 5-tech position. So, whoever's replacing him at left tackle, if Mailata doesn't play, better be ready because the Giants have a fierce young edge rushing duo coming at you. And Miles Sanders, if he doesn't play with the quad, who's the number one running back? Is it Jordan Howard, who's not 100%, or do you go with a guy like Boston Scott or Kenneth Gainwell? Eagles are very loaded at that run. Maybe not loaded, but they're deep at the running back position. They have a lot of guys who can go out there. All right, but at this time, we're going to make our game predictions, and then after our game predictions, we're going to have a short, brief, Christmas-themed holiday segment to close out the show. Hank, who wins? Final score.
You know what? I can't believe I'm doing this. I'm gonna actually pick the Giants for once. I say the Giants will win this game by a final score of, I'll say 21-18.
Wow, you have the Giants scoring 21 points on Sunday.
I know, crazy, but you know what? Maybe we'll get a Christmas miracle.
I see what you did there. Unfortunately, I wish I could agree with you. I'm going the other way. I think the Eagles are going to win this game. The Eagles are fighting for a lot more right now than just a win. Their playoff hopes are on the line. The Giants, their secondary is depleted. Yes, the Eagles have issues with COVID. Their head coach won't be on the sideline, but the Giants' offense has been so incompetent right now. And if Jake Fromm starts at quarterback, I just don't know what we're going to get from him throughout a whole 4 quarters. So until he proves to me that he can, win a football game for this team, I can't pick the Giants because I'm not picking the Giants if Mike Glennon starts. And the fact that we don't even know who it is, I can't pick the Giants at this time. If Jake Fromm plays, though, I might be more inclined to potentially pick the Giants. But at this time, I'm going Philadelphia Eagles. They're going to score. Oh, gosh, it's going to be a low-scoring game. I'm going maybe not as low as last time, though. I'm going to go Philadelphia 19, Giants 17. I have the Giants scoring 17 points, considering if Jake Fromm starts. I think they'll put together 2 touchdowns. If not, then I may have to dip. But this is me assuming that Jake Fromm starts. But yeah, crazy.
Either way, I think we both can agree it's not going to be a high-scoring game.
No, it's not. I don't think the Eagles are going to have much success against our defense either, even if our secondary guys are out. But all right, Hank. So I revealed my picks on the show last week. My favorite Christmas food, beverage, and movie. If you missed those, make sure to tune in to Review and Preview. We put a little YouTube clip up on our YouTube channel at Review and Preview Sports. But Hank, your favorite Christmas food, beverage, and movie?
This is a very good question. There's a lot of good ones that come out to mind, but Tom, believe it or not, just like you, I also happen to be a mashed potatoes guy. You cannot go wrong with that stuff. Whether you're eating it with like ham or whatever meat's being served, or turkey or whatnot, mashed potatoes is the perfect side. And this might sound a little crazy, but I like to put a little hot sauce in that. I like spicy stuff. I can't have my mashed potatoes too bland. So yeah, I'm going to go with mashed potatoes. I'm very, very big on the mash. And my favorite beverage to have on Christmas, you know what? I'm a simple guy. Just let me have a beer and I'm good to go. And as for favorite Christmas movie, now this is where it gets tough because there are a few that come to mind. I love me some Elf. Will Ferrell is awesome. Fun fact, I actually share a birthday with Will Ferrell, July 16th. That movie for me is never not funny. The Home Alone series, you can't go wrong with either. Both one I think was the better Home Alone film, but even though 2, if anything, I think was kind of a carbon copy of Home Alone, minus the fact that he was in New York City and minus the fact that, you know, it's pretty much him learning the exact same lessons and doing the exact same thing, just going on the wrong lane. It's still just as funny. And I mean, hey, you got Tim Curry as one of the hotel concierge guys. How can you not love Tim Curry either? So the Home Alone series is great. However, there is one movie that I like better than those 2. I just wanted to give them an honorable mention. I happen to be a very big fan of It's a Wonderful Life, the classic 1946 film with James Stewart learning about how good he really has with his life. It's a movie that I have to watch every year on Christmas Eve. And as a matter of fact, NBC always plays it, I believe, at around 7 on Christmas Eve. It is a movie that has absolutely stood the test of time. And I just love that scene at the end where once after he sees what life is like without him and how much he really means to Bedford Falls, Mr. What's his name? George Bailey wakes up. He runs around town. He's just so happy to what he has. Such an iconic scene. And when everybody chips in to help him out, get out of his debt, it's just such a heartwarming film. It's never. I love that film.
Yeah, that's a classic. I've watched that a few times. Maybe I'll watch that again this Christmas. But yeah, you know, I'm a Christmas Story guy. Catch some Christmas Story. I like Home Alone. I like Rudolph. I like all the good Christmas shows. Definitely some good stuff. And Kyle Russo comments, Christmas Vacation is always a good one.
Ooh,
yeah.
Yes.
He's got a point. Oh, Brian McGardle waits till the very last second to comment this. Fun fact, Jake Fromm's worst college season stats were better than Daniel Jones's best season.
Can I rebut that comment?
Sure.
Daniel Jones didn't have the talent that Jake Fromm had when he was at Georgia. Duke is not known for being a college program like Georgia is. Anyone who knows Georgia at all knows that Kirby Smart is very good at recruiting players. I mean, look at all the NFL talent they've had over the years. So take that of what you will. I mean, numbers definitely mean something, but I don't think they really tell you the whole story. So it's really hard to judge with that.
Thank you for the comment, Brian McArdle. Make sure to go check out From the Stands Sports. We are a college football show that I join Brian on as a co-host along with Andy Hopper from the Brew Party. Always have a good time talking sports, college football, a lot of bowl games coming up. Kyle says, Brian coming up clutch with the stats to finish the show. LOL. Yes, absolutely. Kyle. Hank's mom, Jamie, says, shout out for a Charlie Brown Christmas. That is a good one too.
How could I leave that one out?
I love that one. love some Charlie Brown.
Yes.
Yeah. Lucy, Linus, right? Linus
and Lucy are the brother and sister.
Snoopy, Woodstock.
I always have that image of Lucy being in that makeshift little hut that says the doctor is in, and then that'll be 5 cents.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, that's going to close out the show for tonight, folks, as we've approached 8:30 now here. Appreciate everybody for commenting on the show tonight. Really appreciate it. Hopefully we get to recap a Giants win next week. Haven't done that in a little bit. It would be nice to sweep the season series against the Philadelphia Eagles, but until then, make sure to go follow us on all of our social media platforms below. And the next week, we'll be previewing the Week 17 Chicago Bears matchup. We have a Bears fan or two lined up for that, so going to be a lot of fun. Yes. But, folks, once again, you've been watching Big Blue Avenue here on Facebook Live. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and let's go Big Blue.